Hello, everybody, and welcome to Silent Podcast, the place to where everything but silent. As usual, I'm your host, Isaiah, back with the Bounce Checks podcast. Yes, we're here to talk some Big Brother 24. It has been a very semi-eventful week, but for the good and for the bad. So, it's very fun to talk and catch up with everybody. We are here on a Saturday. Usually we do this on Fridays, but, scheduling issues. So we're back. We're here. We're going to just break everything down. With me, as always, I have Katie. Katie, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Happy Saturday. There's two houses to talk about. The Dyer Fest and what is it? BB Brochella?
Brochella. Yeah,
Brochella. So there's plenty to say this week. So I'm excited to be here.
absolutely. And then for the first time on the bounce checks, we have Tito. Tito, what's going on, man?
Howdy. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and to talk about these music fests. I've only ever been to one, but these seem a little out there. So we'll see what we get into today. So I appreciate y'all having me.
Of course. Now, I'm going to be playing catch up. Definitely this podcast. So not only is this is a podcast just to talk about everything, these two they're caught up. I have been very crazy outside of this. So I'm very excited to talk about this. So obviously we know last week we just lost Indy after Taylor's HOH. And by the way, since we didn't update our tier list and everything with Ozzy here last week, we're planning on doing that today. But Katie, what's going on? I mean, Indy leaving, was that the move, the optimal move that Taylor should have been wanting for her HOH?
I don't think it's the worst move that could have happened this week. I know people were really not happy with Taylor's HOH. I don't think it was as bad as everybody made it out to be all over the internet. I mean, yeah, she did switch targets a few times. I think maybe Joseph did have a little bit too much of an influence on her, but at the end of the day, she got out a non-leftover. Indy was never really riding with Taylor anyway. Everybody did kind of think Indy was the bigger comp threat, and then as soon as Indy walks out the door, Terrence wins an HOH, and now all hell is breaking loose. So maybe Terrence would have been the better decision. I don't really know, but I think it could have been worse. Ideally, it would have been Alyssa if Kyle used the veto, but obviously we know that didn't happen. So here we are. But I think she's coming out of it relatively unscathed, or at least as unscathed as she could be. So I don't think it was as bad as everybody was making it seem.
Tito, I'm curious how you're feeling because we haven't been able to speak to you this season. I feel like over the past week, the big talk of the town, not only on social media but in headlines, is this whole new thing with Kyle and Alyssa. They're bonking everywhere. They're having, as he would say, sexual intercourse. I wish I got to put the voice clip in here. I didn't get any sound
Not
effects.
sexual intercourse.
It was like we had sexual intercourse, and
Or 10 seconds.
I know. I don't know if I would say all over. I think it happened once on a pool floaty for 10 seconds. So I don't know if I would say, Isaiah, they're boinking all over.
I'm pretty sure it happened again, though, didn't
I
it?
think it's happened like 2 other times.
Yeah.
Has it really happened to?
Yeah,
okay,
I
so I'm
think
behind
so.
on their sexcapades.
Okay, well, first I have to say, I agree with you, Katie. I do think that the HOH was not as bad, seemingly, as the product, like the way it resulted. I think the way they got there was very messy. I think they got very cute with it. But Isaiah, how dare you make the first question that you asked me on this podcast, the first time that I get to talk about Big Brother this season on this, about Kyle and Alyssa boinking on a pool floaty.
Kylyssa.
The way you think that I have anything insightful or exciting to say about this is beyond me. I don't know what you're trying to get at.
I don't know. I mean, it's just like, all right. I think Kyle. And I'm can't wait to break everyone's games down because my God, is this list going to change tremendously this week? But I think Kyle. You obviously. I mean, I think as a viewer, like Michael was in the better spot, and Kyle was just like his number two, which is cool. But I really feel like those two, specifically Kyle, are like they're ready to make a move on the leftovers. Where I know a lot of people are upset about it on the fandom. I get it. I mean, you got to play your own game. I just think that it's an error to do it now. I think that it's not the best timing. But it seems like Kyle really wants to keep Alyssa around, despite her being good for his game or not. It seems like he's trying to do something with Terrence a little bit, which we'll get into in a few minutes. But the house is definitely all over the place. I mean, in your opinion, Tito. So I'll give you a better question. Who's like some of the best position players as of today?
Oh gosh, I feel like it's really hard to pinpoint that down, because of the way the house is split up right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think you had to say like Michael and Brittany seem to be in the best position, not only because they're inside the house and get the luxuries of being indoors, but because I feel like they're nicely positioned in between the like opposing ends from within the leftovers. I think Taylor's probably in a good spot too. But from what we've been seeing, I do think they are limiting their options moving forward based on how um, their targets for this week. I think inside the house, we have a pretty straightforward target and pretty straightforward week, seemingly, with Michael as the HOH and Jasmine seemingly being the target. I think where it gets interesting is what happens outside and when they reunite after they come together from what happens outside. But I think overall, I do think that Michael and Brittany seem to be the best position to move forward. But I do think that they are cutting off a good option for them in Jasmine, moving forward, especially after getting rid of Indy already. I think you had 3 great goats in Indy, Jasmine, and Terrence, and they're getting rid of 2. I would also, I guess, say maybe pencil Terrence in for the final 4, final 3, because I
Mm.
don't see anyone taking a shot at him after this week now that Indy and Jasmine would both be out. So maybe Terrence, I'd kind of put him in for the long haul. I don't know if he's got a shot to win, but he'll definitely be there.
I mean, we might as well just start getting into it. I mean, obviously, Indy got the boot. Hashtag impact, right? Like she didn't really have much going on there, but I mean, she was
The
there.
I in Indy stands for impact.
um. So Katie, catch me up. What's the house divisions right now looking like? Who's on one side? What's on the other side?
Yeah, so the inside, Michael's the HOH, and we have Brittany, we have Taylor, we have Monty, and we have Jasmine inside, and BB Brochella or whatever. On the outside, in the Dire Fest, we have Terrence as the HOH, we have Turner, we have Kyle, we have Alyssa, and we have Joseph. So nominations happened yesterday. The indoor nominations happened first. Michael put up Jasmine and Monty. And then the outdoor nominations happened. And this is where things got a little spicy. So originally the nominations were supposed to be Joseph and Kyle. That was the plan, and Joseph was going to be the target. But Kyle got a little worried that Turner would win the veto and take down Joseph. So then Kyle and Alyssa would be on the block next to each other, with one of them obviously going home after the veto. And he spilled the beans and told Alyssa about the leftovers first, gave the whole story, and really went in super detail with Terrence and gave basically from start to finish the week that Amira went home. It was because we formed the leftovers. The only reason the guys picked you was so they would be insulated. And poor Terrence was like, they didn't want to keep me safe. And it was like really kind of sad. I don't know. It made me sad. I was like, oh God, this poor guy. But he ate it up. So Terrence got in his ear, and he ended up putting up Turner and Joseph instead under Kyle's suggestion after Kyle ratted out everything. So now we're at risk of losing definitely one leftover, unless one of them wins the veto. But even still, Terrence would be the tiebreaker. So it's looking pretty dire for either Turner or Joseph this week.
I mean, is this
No pun intended, because it is called Dire Fest.
Oh, that was good.
Well, it's totally unintentional.
I mean, Katie, is this a good move though? Like, I personally think it's a little too early. I mean, I get taking advantage of the twist and everything, but like, isn't there like a huge opportunity for ramifications next week if this fails?
Yeah, I think there's I think there's a huge potential for ramifications next week, and I think they're already, Michael and Brittany and Taylor and Monty are already saying, if Joseph is gone, then Kyle is going to be the next target essentially when he comes back in the house. So sounds like Alyssa and Brittany and Michael are not moving forward with this final 4 or whatever deal that they made with Kyle and Alyssa. They're kind of banking on Taylor and Monty moving forward, which I like for them. So Kyle's definitely on the bottom, but I do think Kyle was on the bottom anyway because of the stunt he pulled the week before, and everybody was already suspect of him for not using the veto to take out Alyssa. If he were leftover strong, I do think it would have been the perfect time to take out Alyssa. They could have blamed Taylor and said that she didn't tell Kyle that Alyssa was going up, that she was going to put up Monty, and it would have been an easy way to get her out of the house without it seeming like he did it on purpose. Now he's kind of tied all of his, his stakes on her. So, yeah, I think it puts Terrence in a much better position, but I think Kyle, once everybody finds out what happened, it's going to cause a lot of drama for him when he comes back in the house. And I think it really almost puts him close to the bottom because Tito, I think, like you said, no one's going to be taking the shot at Terrence. They're going to be going for Kyle, and I think they're going to be shooting at each other here.
For sure. Yeah, and like to that point, I think that's the way you need to frame it, right? When we think about it, is who is it good for? Like, I think for Terrence, this is great. I think what he's doing is really great for him and for his longevity and for his safety. And but I can't, I can't argue with Kyle in the decision making. Like, if you're number one or you are going home, but you can convince the HOH not to put either of you on the block, like I think that wasn't a bad play. I guess the alternative is him going home or Alyssa going home. So I think that he if he's able to like get through this week, and then move into the house again when everyone comes together, at that point he's like, at that point I'll figure out how I maneuver. But I think to get through this week, you have to kind of put it all out there. So I'm not like upset with the move. I do think that it was obviously there are other things to be upset about with Kyle, but this move specifically is, I think, what he needed to do in order to keep himself and Alyssa safe. So
yeah, I think he gave himself no choice because if he would have just let Alyssa go last week, then this wouldn't be happening this week. If he stayed with the leftovers, he would have been good. Joseph and Turner wouldn't have turned on him. They were all leftover strong. Kyle was the one that, revolted against them, and now he had to just go the full measure. He couldn't just do that half measure of last week. He really had to go for it this week.
Mm-hmm.
So Tito, I guess my question, just to tie that into something, what is Michael's best move going forward? Because he had relied on Kyle a lot. Obviously, I don't know if he's planning on sticking with Kyle through his little fiasco right here. But what is the correct move here
for Michael moving forward? Oh,
yeah,
I think it's going to be tricky for him and Brittany. I feel like I think of Michael and Brittany as like a package deal, and so when I speak to him about Michael, it's also attached to Brittany. But I think it's to continue as much as possible to pit these sides against each other. So if he gets rid of Jasmine, like there's no bloodshed on him. Like he stayed leftover strong. He moved forward, didn't make a move against the team. I think coming into like the house again, like when the house reunites, and if Joseph and or Turner are out, he can't take any or won't have to take any blame for that for the revolt happening. So I do think that's a prime opportunity for him and Brittany to be like, Kyle and Alyssa, what are we going to do? But also to turn to Taylor and Monty and say, Taylor and Monty, what are we going to do? And kind of sit pretty in the middle. He can't play for HOH next week, so he can't necessarily make those or doesn't have to make those decisions, which is pretty good for him. So I think that if he can play Taylor and Monty off of Kyle and Alyssa, with whoever is remaining, right, Joseph and or Turner, if that's what happens, right? We don't know what's going to happen yet, but seemingly that's kind of the trajectory we're going on. That would be a good spot for them to land, is right in the middle and let those two sides battle it out while they kind of squeeze by, maybe get close to Terrence. And I feel like that's probably their optimal final three is Michael, Brittany, and Terrence, because then I feel like Terrence doesn't have a shot to win one of those competitions, so that gets them the win. So if they're able to maneuver in the middle, that's probably, at least at this point, the best decision for them.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think they did have a conversation with Taylor yesterday, and brought in Monty, and I think they did solidify, at least for now, a final four between the two of them. And Taylor wants Joseph as the fifth, but I don't think Michael and Brittany really want Joseph. I think they're fine with Joseph going this week. That was kind of the goal, was for that side to take out Joseph. I think Kyle might be under the impression that they're taking out Monty this week, so he might be surprised to see Monty still in the house. At least it seems like he thinks Michael's also going to turn and take out Monty, but that's not happening. The plan right now still is to evict Jasmine. Brittany won the veto yesterday. They played the indoor veto last night, late last night, and Brittany won. So they're going to keep noms the same, and Jasmine's going home. So I think Michael and Brittany might side with Monty and Taylor, but we'll see. Yeah, blindside Butterbeans. She thinks Monty's the target. So
yeah, she thinks Monty's going home.
Yeah,
which is great.
You're about to get served up a big old plate of blindside Butterbeans.
She's about to find out how they taste.
Get ready,
this week.
Jasmine.
All right. So I think we can start dipping into this tier list. Since we did not edit it last week, I'm sure there's possibly a whole lot to say here.
Yeah,
So
I think so.
let's might
Things
as well
have
just talk
changed.
tremendously. So here is this. And for the audio listeners, if you are interested in wanting a visual to go with this, definitely come check out the YouTube. But here we are. This is 2 weeks removed. We did not do this since Oz was here last week. So yeah, I mean, let's start from the top, and I'm sure the bottom gets a little easier. So I don't think we're having any possibility of a S tier player this season with the trajectory is going. I'm just gonna say that right now. The highest we have ranked right now is Michael. Tito, how do we feel about Michael's game right now?
I feel like that's a good position for him to stay in. I think that he um is probably the best player, or I can go out and say it, right? He's the best player in the game this season. I think he's been able to build up great relationships, but not be seen as a threat, even though he's a huge competition threat and winner of all these competitions. He seemingly has the most strategic mind and is able to kind of maneuver the best. Um, and then also is making decisions that seem very logical and make sense without being like schemy. Like his HOH this week is gonna go over really well in that it's again not a huge strategic move. He's taking out Jasmine, it's what the team wants. It's him staying loyal to the team without but also like, putting in those like seeds of doubt. And he's gonna benefit a lot from whatever happening outside. Like if they are able to get Joseph out outside, that's a huge benefit for Michael, and he had nothing to do with it, and so he doesn't even have to like show his cards in that way. So that's huge. So yeah, I think that A tier is great for him as of this moment. And I think you're probably right. I don't think we'll see anyone in that S tier this season, but who knows? Maybe Terrence will surprise us.
Listen, we almost got Daniel as the next Dan Giesling, right?
Stop.
In his mind.
Please vote to evict me. I rather hang.
And they did.
Katie, how you feel about Michael?
Yeah, I think I would leave Michael in A for now. He's definitely the best player in the house. He's just won his 6th competition, so that could pose a problem. I think, Brittany already knows that going to the end with Michael is not going to be a winning game for her, and so does Taylor. So, yesterday I think they had a little bit of a talk around, if we get to the end, one of us has to take a shot at Michael if we go to Final 3. I think obviously there's been a lot of other distractions happening in the house, so they haven't really been looking at Michael, and Michael's been mostly safe with his HOH and veto wins, so they haven't really had much of a shot to be able to take at Michael, but I think he's got to tone it down a little bit with the comp wins. I don't think that this is the smartest game that he should be playing right now, is winning every single competition. I think with this twist, it probably made sense because who knew what was going to happen, and especially with 5 on the inside, 5 on the outside, and not a lot of votes to play with, it's a little sketch if you're not safe. So I understand that, but I think moving forward, I would like to see him tone his comp threat level down a little bit. I don't think he needs to be as out front as he is. But from a strategy perspective, I mean, he's kind of the only one that really, him and Brittany, I think right now are the only two that really have a plan moving forward. But the problem is it's like they're a little wishy-washy on the plan. Sometimes they want to go with Michael and sometimes they want to go with Kyle and Alyssa. Now they want to go with Taylor and Monty. I don't know. I feel like Michael's a little snaky the last week or so. I'm not like super happy with the way that he was playing the game last week, but I still think he deserved to stay in the A spot.
All right. So Michael is going to be staying in that A slot for now. We'll see how the rest of the game goes for him. And next is B tier. We only have one person as of right now in B tier. And about 2 weeks ago, and potentially last week, that was Kyle. Like I said, a lot has changed. Now, to be fair, I think Kyle made a pretty big move, and if Joseph does leave, that is, in my opinion, a huge plus, because I do think that at some point it was going to have to happen. You'd rather do it now than later. But with that being said, there's a lot of people that are going to be pissed off at you for being the first one to make that move. So Kyle definitely thinking with the wrong head here. I think he's getting a little too caught up in the sauce. But anything can happen in Big Brother. We were literally just saying a couple weeks ago, this is the archetype that you can see winning because everyone liked them. So who knows? But Katie, how you feel about Kyle's chances here?
I don't even know where to start with Kyle. So I feel like Kyle's giving Jackson Mickey vibes in like all the worst possible ways.
Is there any
He
good possible ways?
No, I guess there aren't really any good
There's no
possible ways. I
watermelon.
just don't think he has the win equity that Jackson Mickey had. First, when Indy went out of the house, she blamed Kyle. So that's already a jury vote that he's not going to get. I think he's going to piss a lot of people off this week with the move that he made. I think once Joseph realizes what happens if he left the house, he's going to be pissed. I think that also Turner is probably going to be pissed. Turner seems like he's the most loyal to the alliance right now, and he just totally got backstabbed by Kyle and doesn't even know it yet. But I think with a lot of the other things that are going on with Kyle, it's just he sabotaged his game because he made up a story in his head about all of the people of color working together when that obviously is not the case. And he was really well insulated by the pound. And he just threw that away for literally no reason other than his problematic and bigoted and racist views. Like, there's no other reason why he would have done that. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah, Joseph and Taylor had a good relationship. Monty and Joseph have a good relationship. But Terrence was never in that. Jasmine was never in that. There's never, a Cookout version 2. And I think he got so caught up on that in his head, maybe because that was the easiest way for him to try and justify to himself that he could save Alyssa. But obviously it's rooted in just problematic behavior. And I think he really screwed himself. Like, he was in a really good spot. He had all 3 of those guys riding for him. He had Michael and Brittany riding for him. He had everything. Taylor was loyal to him. I mean, he had it all, and then he just threw it away for literally no reason, other than his problematic thoughts and behaviors and thinking with his dick. So I think he's making a move now because he put himself in a position where he had no other choice. Whereas if he just wrote it out with the leftovers and then started winning some competitions and taking shots within the 7, he probably would have made it a lot further than I think he's going to make after doing all of this. So I don't think this is a good move for his game at all. I think it started, like we said earlier, started last week by him saving Alyssa. They're a pair moving forward. Obviously, they're going to be a target. It just doesn't make sense to me why he threw away all of this equity that he had. I would put him down to D, honestly. I don't see a way that he can win moving forward. I just don't think he has any win equity at this point. Once Monty and Taylor find out what happened, once Turner figures it out, I think it's really going to be a negative on I don't think we know where Turner's going to fall right now on either side, but Turner to me seems like a really loyal dude, and he was very loyal to the pound. He was loyal to the leftovers. I don't think he's going to take it lightly that Kyle just acted upon himself and just told Terrence everything, because it put Turner in a bad spot with Terrence, who he actually had a really good relationship with since week 1. So you can't go to the end with Alyssa. And I think he thinks that maybe he'll have Michael and Brittany when he gets back inside, but Michael and Brittany are talking about how he's potentially going to be the next target. So unless he wins HOH next week, I think he has a very high potential of walking out the door.
I wanted to say I'm really mad that I didn't download him saying I'm so horny. When you were talking about him thinking with the wrong one. Yeah,
I'm good that you didn't do that.
Like,
I'm all good on that.
I mean, out of curiosity, is it true that he was a virgin before he came in here, or is that like
no? Alyssa said that he only had he had sex with 2 people before her.
Got it. I was just curious about that. Bad things to be curious about, but I saw that trending on Twitter. I just need the answer, So Tito, how do you feel about Kyle's chances right now?
I think Katie summarized it very well, and basically everything that I had to say you touched on, which is great. I think for me, there's a one way to look at it, in that in the position he currently is in, I think the move he made this week is great. I think if he's protecting himself and his number one alliance member in Alyssa, yeah, you want to do that. And if you're gonna have to show your cards a little bit, you kind of have to. What's the alternative? Either he goes home or Alyssa goes home. So I think that that's a strong move. The part that's completely silly and dumb is he put himself in a position to begin with. He was in such a good position even at the start of last week, and he himself was the one ruining his own positioning, his own game, his own relationships, based on, like Katie said, these racist and bigoted notions and made up assumptions in his mind, right? And I think that he has the ability, right? He has like the kind of charisma, that like white boy charm, right? To be friends with people and build relationships that was challenged seemingly by some of these other guys. I feel like Joseph was someone that he sized himself up against and saw like, oh, Joseph's friends with Monty and I was friends with Monty, or Joseph is close with Taylor and I thought I was, flirty with Taylor. So I think that he got in his own head and became, like felt like challenged by Joseph, and so he again had to create a reason to why we need to target these people, and that he made that up himself, and that was the reasoning, and so now he finds himself in the bottom and seemingly thinks himself as an underdog, but I feel like you're not an underdog if you put yourself in that position to begin with. So yeah, I agree with Katie. I think I would have said D as well because I do think that he's lost a lot of win equity, a lot of social capital, and I don't think that he has the relationship moving forward to rebuild. I do think that as soon as Kyle takes one of these shots and Turner or Joseph goes home, that Michael and Brittany will be like, all right, Kyle, you're next, because that's just one more week for them to advance and to feel again loyal and not have to show their cards, because I do think that if they turn, and go with Kyle and Alyssa and turn on, say, Monty or Taylor, that also looks like, again, optics, right? They keep saying that in the house, looks really bad. And I feel like Michael and Brittany are a little bit more cognizant about that. So yeah, I say D. And maybe, who knows, maybe we'll put him in an F tier soon. But I think D for now is good.
Mentally, he's in my F tier, but game-wise, I think he belongs in D.
Yeah.
Also, I think we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the fact that he got ripped to shreds on E! News the other night for being a racist and for having sex on a pool floaty.
That was amazing.
TMZ is posting articles about him having sex on a pool floaty. Newsweek posted an article about him being a racist. The Daily Beast posted an article about him being a racist. He's getting shredded across the internet, and so is production for not showing a lot of it, which is why I think they included in that really horrendous 2-hour episode that we had on Thursday a brief moment talking about it, but I still don't think
not
that
really even.
Not
it was
really,
so
right.
bad. It was so
Right.
bad. It almost made it seem like it was justified the way it was portrayed. It was so
Right. It was
embarrassing
bad.
to see. Yeah, and also if you're like on Twitter trending for the last week and a half as KK
as
Kyle,
KKK Kyle.
like
It's
come
bad.
on, like he's done so. He's got to go. And I think the comparison to Jackson Mickey is really good. I think with like Alyssa as the Holly, it's like very like apt. But with that being said, like he did win. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's a world I don't want to live in, where we see a Kyle Alyssa final two and he pulls out the win because
he's not eating watermelons every day.
No, he's not. And I think the one thing I'll give Kyle is that he's not abusive towards Alyssa yet. I mean, Mickey was abusive towards Holly. We watched it play out on the season. That was really bad. But I do kind of think that Jackson Mickey was a little bit of a better player than Kyle. Like, I don't think that, Kyle has it in him to eavesdrop outside of a door and then flip it on Tommy the way that Jackson did. I don't think he has those. Yeah, that was a move. That was a good move. As much as we hate Jackson, that was a good move. And I don't think, we have Terrence maybe playing the role of Cliff Hogg, but I don't think that, first of all, that Terrence is going to get there. Oh, I think Cliff ruined that season, actually. I blame Cliff for everything bad. Yeah, Cliff was horrible. And I don't think we have anybody that's a Nicole Anthony who's just going to listen to Terrence try and, make every decision, luckily.
Good conversation, different podcast. We're gonna break down all the seasons one day, and that's gonna be an interesting one. But I'm gonna listen to you and join you guys. I'm dropping Kyle to D because this is the head he was thinking with, so he's gonna be in D here.
Exactly.
All right, so we're gonna move to C real quick. So next is Turner. Turner is, in my opinion, he's on the block, so that sucks. But like, he's not playing a bad game, in my opinion. The bad thing about him is that he's on the block right now. I know that he's kind of taking a stance to stay leftover strong with specific people. Hopefully that doesn't bite him in the ass this week if like Jackson wins it or something like that. But I like Turner.
Jackson.
And, oh my God!
Different podcast.
Different podcast. If Joseph gets to beat her or stays in, then like I'm scared for Turner, obviously. But I feel like Joseph is the target right now, and I think if Turner comes back, he could win a HOH. He's won one already, and B, even if he didn't, and the house goes back to normal, I don't think he's like first priority. Like I think he's kind of lower on the totem pole. He's the short guy of the alliance that no one takes too seriously when he's actually in the fold for a couple things. So I like him. I would make him lower on the C side though, just because he's on the block right now. And I mean, same for Joseph. We'll get to him in a second. But Tita, how do you feel about God, what's his name? Oh,
Turner.
Turner. How do you feel about Turner right now?
I enjoy Turner. I think has a good position. I think he has good relationships. He's pretty social. I don't think he's playing hard enough. I think he needs to be a little bit more strategic. I think he needs to be a little bit more gamey. I don't see that a lot from him. I feel like he should really have like hidden bonds and relationships. Like I don't see why he's not more in with Taylor. I don't see why he's not more in with like Michael and Brittany. Everyone seems to like him, sure, like well enough, but I think that he has the like opportunity with his position and that he's not the biggest threat, not the biggest target. No one seems to be like gunning for him at this point. So he should have like the most opportunity to really dig into these relationships, like make deals, make relationships, make final twos, be more strategic in the game. Like I want to see him like go up to Michael and be like, "Yo, what are we doing? Like, how do we move forward?" I feel like he's kind of more of a piece than a mover. Like I think that he
Mhm.
kind of sits around and sees what's happening instead of making active steps to move himself forward. So I'm worried about him in that way. I do think that he can win. I think that a few competitions go his way. He gets key members out in the end game. I think he can pull out a win, but I don't see himself setting himself up for that now. And he could be the one out this week. I think if Joseph wins the Speedo, Turner's out. I don't see him necessarily um, talking his way into or like convincing Terrence to take out Alyssa over him or Kyle, I guess at that point. Um, so yeah, I think that he is a little bit of danger, but I do think he's not um, like the number one threat to be taken out anytime soon. But again, if they miss the shot at Joseph, it'll probably land on him. So I would probably agree with you in leaving him in C. Um, but I do think that he has the ability and opportunity to go up from here. So we'll see what happens moving forward.
All right, and I think Joseph in the chat actually agrees with you as well. Says he will leave Turner in C. To him, he's okay, but he will put him behind Joseph. How do you feel about that, Katie? What's your thoughts on Turner as well?
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything that you said, Tito. I think you and I are definitely on the same page today. I do think he has some good relationships with. Unfortunately, he did with Terrence, but now Terrence kind of feels like he's been played by everybody in the house. He has a good relationship with Alyssa, which I think will potentially help him in the future if he stays. I don't like that he is in danger of going home. But coming into this week, I felt confident that, and I've been saying it the last couple of weeks on this podcast, that when the sides start shooting at each other, it felt like Turner was going to be safe in the middle and Taylor was going to be safe in the middle, that they wouldn't really choose firm sides. And unfortunately, Turner didn't choose a side. The side was kind of chosen for him by Kyle because he got ratted out. So I really didn't see this coming because he should really be safe this week, especially with the Terrence HOH, because they've, like we said, Turner and Pooch and Terrence in the beginning were pretty tight. They were talking about how they would never vote him out. They've had some pretty good conversations. I think if he makes it through, I think people are feeling a little bit like they don't really know if they can trust. Like Michael and Brittany don't really know where his loyalties lie. He had the pound. Who knows what's going to come of the pound this week, with one of them potentially gone and how the house shakes out. So yeah, I think he's good in C. I think there's a lot of potential for him, but then there's a lot of potential that he chooses Kyle and Alyssa and then makes him an enemy out of everybody else. So I think he could go either way, but I don't think he's going to be happy once he realizes what happened with Kyle. To me, Turner seems like he's a loyal guy. He wanted to stay loyal to the leftovers. He was loyal to the pound, and Kyle kind of took any agency away from him to control this narrative. So I can't imagine he's going to be happy with that. But I would leave him. Yeah, I would leave him as a C.
Okay, Turner is staying in C tier. We're going to move to his block buddy, Joseph. Joseph is the prime target for this week right now. Obviously, as we discussed, he was completely thrown under the bus by Kyle to Terrence. Terrence had a lot of trust in him and Monty, so Terrence feels kind of played. Can Joseph get himself out of this, Katie? If he does not get the veto, what's it looking like right now?
I don't think he can. I don't think he can get himself out of this. I think There's no way Terrence would be the tiebreaker if he stays on the block, and I don't right now see a way, especially without him realizing, and it's a long week and they have nothing to do outside. I mean, they have nothing. There's no walls, there's nowhere for them to go, there's nothing going on. Maybe he'll figure it out that Kyle spilled and can figure out some kind of story to tell Terrence to get him back on his side, but I think he's playing at a disadvantage because Kyle took the first shot, so he really like set the narrative, and now he's going to have to change Terrence's mind. Michael and Brittany also want Joseph to go this week so they can, bring Taylor fully into the fold. I just don't think Joseph is in a good spot here at all. I don't see a big, unless he wins veto, I think he's gone, unfortunately. And he hasn't won a comp yet, so I don't know. I mean, he hasn't really had to, but I don't know. I would keep him under Turner, I think, for now, because he's the clear target. Turner's only going if something goes wrong, so.
All right, let's see if we're 5 for 5 here, or 4 for wherever number one. Are you in agreement with Katie, Tito?
Yeah, like you said, I feel like we are in lockstep. I think besides Jasmine, Joseph is the most likely person to go home this week. And it's really unfortunate because I think that he was really coming into his own in the game overall. I think that this twist is really obviously like challenged him in a way that hadn't been. I think when you expedite the game in that way, going from playing in a final, what was it, 11 to now we're in the final 5 seemingly, like that's kind of a big leap. Because once you're in the final 5, you're in it and you're going all in, and you better be playing hard, because if you're not at that point, you're not moving any further. And so I think that's a big leap to make in terms of how you play the game as quickly. Something that I would love to see, like this is like beautiful feeds, I feel like, is let's say Turner wins this veto, and they get in Terrence's ear and he's like, you know what, let's do Kyle. They put Kyle on the block and then just like, beat it into Terrence's head. Like Kyle has to go. If they can get into his ear about that, they're a showmans. Like it's an obvious thing. Like I would love to see that kind of game play out, and seeing both like Joseph and Kyle coming at Terrence with the like tie-breaking vote. That'd be really interesting for me to see. I would love to see that kind of strategy and like competition for a vote. I feel like it's been a while since we've seen something like that, like fighting for a vote, and that would be a really interesting position to see it in. I would love to see that. So that's my one potential out for Joseph in that way. Like maybe we see Kyle out if that happens, but again, that's a real long shot. So yeah, I guess I would agree. He probably needs to stay and see, which is not bad, seeming right as he's probably going out.
Is he above or below Turner?
I mean,
I have some news potentially.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
I don't know. It's not confirmed, but I'm seeing on Twitter from Spoiler Girl. So really big caveat here. But everybody seems to be believing it. Terrence may have won the veto. But again, it's coming from Spoiler Girl. We don't know, but it's all over the place now. It's the feed's moving.
Spoiler
so
Girl
I don't
has
know.
been on a roll this season.
And
I mean,
a little different than Spoiler King, where she's actually saying this man won the veto. So like it's easy to prove if she's right or wrong. So I don't really know I don't know what her track record has been, but that's really bad for Joseph.
She's
really
been
bad
on
for
a roll
Joseph
this season, so I don't know. That right there. I mean, that's not confirmed news. So I'm not gonna go based off of that. But even regardless, there's a lot of people who want him out. I do see Diego actually in the chat. If Joseph wins a veto, he can easily make it to the Rhine. He just has to get through this week. Agreed. But if they're willing to take the shot now, a whole lot of people are going to be willing to take that shot later. So he's going to have some obstacles definitely to get past this week. I mean, after this week, if he survives. But we'll have to see till after veto.
And if this is true, and Terrence did win the veto, I just want to say Taylor wanted Terrence out, and the leftovers changed her mind and said Indy was a bigger comp threat. And now if this guy goes 2 for 2, they have no one else to blame but themselves. They had him up on a platter. He was going to be out the door, and they kept him instead of Indy. I don't know if it was the move, but
I was just thinking that too, and I do think that had Terrence gone out and Indy won these 2 competitions, it would have been a similar thing. But the thing is, I think Indy's a lot more malleable and a lot more influenced by other people, by multiple people, that it could have been a different story. So totally. Yeah, this really would have been last week seemingly didn't seem to matter in who went home, but I think this is showing that it did.
Yeah.
Don't sleep on DJ Terrence, okay?
Stop. Not the South Side of Chicago.
All right, so we're gonna keep Joseph there. So our next person talk about is Monty. Monty has not been on everyone's lips as recent. I think Monty's never really been in the forefront for like anything, in my opinion, this season. Like I know a lot of people in the game spoke to him about him being like a leader and whatever. I'm gonna switch up the layout just for to try out. But I know a lot of people spoke of him as like a leader and all this stuff. I haven't really seen that from Monty. I think Monty's honestly just been like doing his own thing, laying low. I don't know if there's like a switch in his mind where like it's time to cut everybody, but he's just kind of letting everyone like do their own thing, in my opinion. I mean, am I wrong here, Katie? Like, is that a bad read?
I think Monty's actually been playing a good game. I think he's been quiet where he needs to be quiet. I think he's really brought Taylor in, and I think she really trusts him. I think Kyle has been telling everybody that Monty has been running the show, which is really not the case at all. I don't see it that way. I think, the other side of the house, which is only like 3 people now at this point, have seen Monty as the biggest threat. I don't see that. He's won 1 competition, but I like his position here. I like that he's getting more in with Michael and Brittany and Taylor. Maybe Joseph leaving might be a good thing for Monty because it will separate that pair and have less eyes on him. I do think that Kyle, if he comes back and wins HOH, that he'll probably be top of Kyle's list, unfortunately. But I think Monty's doing pretty well. I would maybe move him up to a B. I think he's just in a good position. He's not overplaying. He's not underplaying. He's making people feel like they can trust him. I don't know. I like what I'm seeing from Monty. He's been quiet. We really haven't seen a lot, but I kind of like that, given the nature of things right now.
How about you, Tito?
Yeah, I think he position-wise, I think he's in a really good spot. I think that his threat level doesn't seem to be super high either. I feel like you would think he would be more of a target or more of a threat, but you don't really see that happening too much. I would even argue maybe even A status. I think that he has been finding himself in a position where um, even with if these like sides kind of battle it out to each other, I do feel like he has some cushion with other targets ahead of him, like Joseph, for example. I guess if Joseph does go out this week, that does kind of cut one of his arms off. But I think moving forward, it allows him to kind of move a little bit more freely, kind of build relationships a little bit more. I do think that if they start taking shots at each other, I think that Taylor would kind of take the hit before him. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't know. I think that the Joseph and Taylor pair is more out there than like the Joseph and Monty pair. So if Joseph's out, I could see Taylor being the next target. Um, yeah, so I do like his positioning. I do think a lot of his position is like kind of like luck. I don't see him putting a lot of energy and effort into playing the game. Similar to Turner, like they're obviously playing the game and having conversations, but I think that in terms of advancing their game intentionally, like how like Michael does, like how Kyle has been doing previously, I don't see that from them too much. But I think that they have the ability, the athleticism, the social game, and like the charisma to make it to the end and pull out a win. I just don't know how well they could speak to their own actions when it comes to their game, but that's
Mm-hmm.
not a reason to count somebody out. So yeah, I would for sure moving up to B, and I could see a good reason for A even.
He's kind of giving me, and I didn't agree with this in the beginning of the season when everybody was saying this based on just archetype, but he is giving me a little bit of Xavier now that we're at the jury phase. He's been quiet. He's been kind of keeping mostly to himself and has just been acting as the glue of the alliance, which is what we saw from Xavier at the beginning of Big Brother 23. Even a little bit of like Tashawn, kind of keeping it low key until jury and then maybe winning some comps. And, I think he has, if he can keep it up, I think he's going to only be in a good spot. Similar to how, other people are going to be shooting at people. Maybe he'll be able to make it through. I don't know. I like what I'm seeing from Monty. I think he has some potential win equity. But you're right. I don't know if he's going to be able to speak to a lot of what he's
Yeah.
done in the game.
And I
So
think
he'll have to
that
start making some moves and winning some comps.
yeah, I think that Tashawn comparison is really, really good actually. You know, like as you were saying it, it reminded me of like, yeah, I think Tashawn didn't like kind of lucked into his position. He
Hmm.
had Jed as a bigger threat. People targeted Beth before him because of that Jed connection. So I feel like if in this situation is Taylor the Beth, like
Right.
I'm seeing it a lot more now as I think about it. And Tashawn couldn't really speak to his game too well. I think that a lot of people had to like feed it to him, like, oh, remember you did this, and he's like, oh yeah, I did do that. So I think that's kind of that's a really good comparison. I see that a
Yeah.
lot too.
Why was my mic not unmuting? Yes, but I actually, I mean, if you guys are okay with that, I might move Monty to the top of C, personally, or is that too early?
Why do you think top of C and not B?
Because he's not on the block to be eliminated right now. Like I think, right now, one of either Joseph or Turner will be leaving this week, and even
Well,
if
he is on the block, but he's not going anywhere.
that's what I mean, like he has no way of like leaving right now. Like I think Joseph, I wouldn't put him over Turner because I think Turner still has some more longevity, but I think Joseph is like really on like a very specific what's what I'm looking for, a very specific path right now where if he doesn't win veto, he's done. Where I think Monty has options. Like he doesn't need the veto to stay in the game right now, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, but why doesn't that put him in a B?
Why does it put him in a B? Because he doesn't have any real like I haven't seen Monty run a vote. I haven't really seen Monty like garner any sort of like leadership skill or try to like really like lead something. Like the highest we put people, it has been Michael and Kyle, and both of them have kind of taken initiative at one point or another in the game when we did put them up there. I feel like you need to at least have some willingness to like try to like formulate something or try to like navigate like a vote or like at least push some sort of agenda where like even X, you compared him to X played that middle game perfectly, but he still had his moments where he was like trying to push a narrative to get specific people out. Same with Tyshawn. So I'm just like, I haven't seen that from him this season yet, so I'm very like skeptical and I'm just still waiting. But I'm also fine with B if you feel strongly about it.
I just think the game for him is wide open for him to take it right now.
Okay.
I think with the way things are breaking open, we are only at right at the beginning of jury. So
Okay.
I think this is right when Xavier and Tashawn kind of picked it up a little bit and started making their moves. I think he's been playing the middle well, other than him being painted as this big threat from the other side. I think it's going to hinge on the next week's HOH, I think, is really going to be. But I like what he's doing right now. I feel like
Okay.
he could be bumped to a B, especially compared to Turner and Joseph, who if we're considering the C tier all kind of similar, I feel like Monty is above those two right now.
Okay. Let's do it then.
Yeah.
B. Why not? Boom. But if he drops, I told you so. All right.
You wanted to put Kyle above Michael, if you don't remember. And
A
Josie
couple weeks
and
ago,
I had to
yeah,
fight
hell
with you.
yeah. A couple weeks ago, hell yeah. I agree. Until
I was ready to fight.
and then the moment he took his pants down on a floaty, that's where my opinion
Yep.
changed. You know. So anyway, we got Taylor next, D tier. I'm gonna be honest. I think she is going to be here for a while, but I still don't think that Taylor's going to win this season. I think right now our starting jury member is Indy. Doesn't like Taylor whatsoever.
No, her exit press is real high on Taylor. Really high on Taylor.
Jasmine's potentially going to the jury house next. Hates Taylor. Does not like Taylor. That's two people. If Joseph goes in there, cool. That's cool. But like,
I disagree already.
I do too.
Because
I do too.
what?
Taylor did good work with the girls last week. She kept Jasmine safe, and I don't think Jasmine would have targeted Taylor at all. And I think depending on who she's sitting at the end with, she could get Jasmine's vote. Indy is singing Taylor's praises in all of her exit interviews and hates Brittany and hates Kyle. But she's
Kyle.
like, Taylor is wonderful. I love Taylor.
She hates Kyle too much to hate somebody else.
Yeah. I think
I hope
think
that
Taylor's.
sticks. I just know how shady these girls are, and you sit them with their thoughts for 5 seconds, and then they switch like a light switch. So I'm just like,
I think it depends on like if Joseph goes in this week. I think Kyle's game's gonna go down. I think Alyssa's game's gonna go down. I think Taylor's gonna rise to the top. I think she could get some.
If Joseph goes into the jury house and has a week to sit there with Jasmine and Indy, Taylor is Angel.
Me too.
I would love to see it. I'm just
I'm
like,
not
I
saying
don't
move her to
know.
B or A, but I
No.
think maybe bottom C I would put her in. I think as bad as her HOH seemingly went last week, I think it's a worse position for it put Kyle in a really bad position, and she's in a better position because she's now solidified with Michael and Brittany and Monty. And if Joseph goes, I don't think it's a bad thing for her because I know she really likes him, but I think he had maybe too much of an influence on her. So I think it kind of opens things up for her to make better moves in the future.
Well,
I don't
lastly, I was
know.
also going to say, and I'm also down to put her in C. I'm just afraid that her basically spouting to Turner or Monty. I mean, I think Monty got over it, but Turner, at least, that's going to be in the back of his mind. That like, hey, you consider me putting me up after I didn't put you up.
Yeah,
What's
that was
going
not
on with
great.
that? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it's like, but like, I'm definitely down to put her in C. I think, and not to hijack your moment, but I definitely think that
No, I
she
hijacked yours. I'm sorry.
no, you good. You good. I'm just like, I'm afraid for I would love to see her win. I'm just like, I guess I'm so specific on pathways. I'm having such a hard time trying to find what that pathway is for her. Like easily I could say sit next to Terrence, but they don't like each other. So I'm just like, who knows? But go ahead, Katie. What were you saying?
No, I mean that's really I think C is probably a good spot. Bottom C probably for her I would be okay with. I don't think that she's going to be going anywhere for a while. I think with Kyle turning, no one's really going to target Taylor at this moment, and I think probably like you, Isaiah, people probably don't think that she has a ton of win equity, which will let her. She's been doing it the whole season. She's been just, oh, we'll get Taylor next week. We'll get Taylor next week, whatever. And now here she is in more insulated by Michael and Brittany. Brittany and her kind of made a final two yesterday, saying they know they can't go to the end with Michael. So if they get to three, one of the two of them would have to take a shot. So if Taylor's the one that can take that shot at Michael, that sets her up to win. I mean, that's a huge shot if she could do it. She can win comps. I don't know. I think C for now. I still don't think she's a best player this season at all. Maybe strategically she's not like super great, but I don't think she's in a bad spot. And I think if she gets to the end, she could get jury votes for sure, especially if she's sitting next to someone that the jury doesn't like more than her.
How about you, Tito?
I want her high C.
High C. Okay.
I think she's doing really well. I think that her HOH not going super well last week will have like long-term good effects. I think Indy going into the jury house as seemingly the most anti-person against her and her not being that way is really good for her. Like I said, I think Jasmine and Joseph going in following, they'll have a week to just kind of talk about it. And I think that's going to help Taylor's game a lot. I think of the eight people we'll have at the end of this week left, I think she's one of four that could still win the game. I just like want that like bookend story for the season. Like how beautiful would that be to like see her walk out the door with the confetti? And it's just like that's what it maybe I'm a little too high because I would love to see it so much. But I think that she's positioned really well. I think that people are not going to be looking at her in the next couple of weeks at least. And I think all she would need to is the clutch HOH wins or veto wins to get her there. I could see her having a Paris style end game and claiming like a win that way. Like maybe she's not sitting against someone you now think she could beat. Like if she is sitting next to Michael, I think right depending how the end game goes, like that could be shifted with the last couple of competitions. I really am really high on her. I think that she again has a little bit more to learn and to strategize to advance herself intentionally in the game. But I think that she can do it. I think that she has the ability, and I just want to see it. So that's maybe why I'm high on her. So it doesn't have to be a high C, but I would.
She is safe this week, and the other two are not. And it's official now. Spoiler girl has been vindicated. She is right. Terrence won the veto. Hamster Watch is reporting it. Big Brother Daily's reporting it. This is like the worst case scenario, I think, other than like Kyle winning.
Yeah.
Dun,
Well,
dun,
this gives me a little bit of like, see now I just like get it running in my head. I was like, all right, now all they got to do is go to Terrence and convince him. Kyle's it. Kyle's what we got to do. This is a showman. So what are you thinking? You're gonna look so silly. And if just come on, let me live a little bit. Let me enjoy.
It's
my
not
mind.
impossible. There's a lot of time before Thursday. Well, I guess Monday.
And I do feel like Terrence like is or can be easily swayed. I just feel like I do think Kyle has his thumb like right on him and he's not gonna let go. So and they have nowhere to go, you know what I mean? Like there's only 5 of them, they're in the backyard. So like there isn't necessarily a time for Joseph to really get in there without Kyle noticing. So I think that makes it really tough too.
Yeah. I'm counting on Turner. Maybe the DR can tip Turner off a little bit, as they've been doing with everybody else in the
Please.
house, and start
I'm
asking
with
some
listen.
questions.
No,
And then
I'm
Turner can
with
come out and be like,
Ozza.
something's fishy here.
I'm with Ozza. She said this on Twitter. Tired of the production interference this season. Cut it out. Like, I have never seen. Well, no, that's a lie. I've seen Big Brother be like this bad, but not this bad. Like, what happened to like the secrecy of Big Brother? Like, production tips players off of what's going on in the outside world now. They tell players what the public perception is of
Yeah.
them. They tell players like if someone's not feeling them. Like, what's up with that? That's not Big Brother. Like, it's so weird now that Big Brother has gotten so interfered, interferes so much with like the gameplay and like I mean to Taylor's benefit because Taylor is here now, but like yeah, everyone hated her, including Joseph, including Turner, including like flipped on a dime. Like I'm like production, y'all need to chill. Like I don't know. That's another conversation, another podcast.
I mean, I think
going
even last
but-
night, Taylor was like, the questions they're asking me in the DR make me feel like things aren't going well. So it's like, yeah, obviously. I mean, they have to make a show, right? They have to ask them questions. It's hard with them separated.
Yeah.
But I think if it gets Kyle out, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Honestly, it doesn't bother me
picky.
as much.
I'm
as long as it works
choosy.
out for me.
Yeah, if it works
I'm
in my
good.
favor,
Oh,
I'm fine.
brother.
I love the
This is the
rigor.
problem
I'm with
with
it.
Twitter. I can't.
It's fine.
This
If
is
anybody
why,
wants to rent a banner plane and just let Joseph and Turner know.
This
that
is why
If
that
they want to
goes.
throw a diamond power veto on Joseph's lab, like I'm
Oh,
fine.
I'm
man.
good with
Sounds
it.
good to me.
This is why the casting producer shaded Twitter today because I'm like everyone is so hypocritical. Everyone's like, cancel Big Brother. Oh, Taylor's winning.
100%.
I'm watching again.
100%.
Canceled.
That's
Like
me.
everyone was on strike for
Same.
like a week and then everyone just gave up. Like I'm like, come on now. Anyways, that's a lot. I can rain on forever about production and Twitter, but next is Brittany. Brittany. I don't really know. This is one of the players I'm not in the know of. So Tito, catch me up. What's going on with Brittany right now?
You know, I have really been impressed with Brittany in the last couple of weeks. I think that she is a lot more of an active player than she had been. I think that she was like stunted a little bit in the beginning with like some of like the girls conversations and not really seeming like she fit in. I think the leftovers has really opened up her opportunity base. So I see her having a lot more conversations. I see her being a lot more active. I see her being a lot more intentional about advancing her own game. And I think that she's mentioned a couple of times that she doesn't feel that she can beat Michael, and that's what she's banking on her final two being, which is like not great if you aren't willing to cut the person who will beat you. But I think that that's allowed her to play a lot more free and a lot more like risky, which is really fun to see because I think other players would be a lot more reserved and not as willing to take those risky decisions, like having conversations, exposing people, offering up names. I think it was her that brought up Alyssa last week that kind of got that ball rolling. And so I think that had she wanting to play it more safe, she wouldn't have. But I see that she's starting to build a little bit more capital. I think that she didn't have a necessarily shot to win against lots of people. And I think that people are perceiving her a little bit differently because of this more active gameplay. But I wish she had more of like the cutthroat instinct to be like, yeah, final four and Michael's sitting there, I'm cutting him. Like I would love to hear her say that kind of thing. Overall, I'm a little bit higher on her. I'd probably bump her up to C also, probably above Joseph. But I'm willing to hear your takes on it as well because I do think that she is someone who can like ebb and flow, and it probably has moved around a lot within these rankings as the season's gone on.
Yeah, I would maybe even put her in B, honestly, below Monty, I think.
B for
'cause
Brittany.
No one's coming for her. She's with Michael. She's winning comp. She won the veto yesterday. No one's coming for her. Taylor's not coming for her. Monty's not coming for her. Obviously, Michael's never going to come for her. Kyle thinks that he's in with Michael and Brittany and thinks that they're allies. Same with Alyssa. She's kind of sitting pretty right now. If Joseph goes, which it seems very highly likely that Joseph is going to go, Turner's the only wild card, and I don't think he would be coming for Brittany. Maybe Terrence, but like I don't think so. I think he would be taking a bigger shot, and I don't think he has the respect, unfortunately, for Brittany to see her as a game player. So it would almost feel like a waste for him. And he doesn't have a chance to play HOH next week. So I like what she's doing. She was working on solidifying something with Monty and Taylor and Michael yesterday. I think, she knows that she's not going to win against Michael. So I don't think that she will be afraid to cut him necessarily when the time comes. And I think she knows the game really well and knows the types of comps that will be at the end. And she's going to set up the right final 3 for herself to get herself to the end. I don't think she is doing well with the jury, though. Like, Indy hates her.
There it is.
So I don't know, but I think she's playing a good enough game to get herself close to the end. Hopefully, depending on what happens and who else goes into the jury, that could change and they respect her a little more. But that's really the only downside to her game right now, is that she doesn't have those relationships with like a Jasmine and Indy for them to respect her game when they're voting at the end.
Yeah,
but in terms of the game she's playing, I think she's probably B. She's higher than all the 3 people in C right now. That's all I know.
Okay. I mean, I was going to ask, what's her win equity, or like,
See, that's the thing.
Like, who do you sit next to win? Because I don't.
So I think she had Jasmine and Terrence, right? If Jasmine goes out, I think she can beat Terrence, but Terrence just has got 2 wins.
I know. I don't know if she can beat Terrence. If he takes out a big Joseph
exactly. He comes in with a lot more respect. People make me fear him as someone who can win competitions now. She has won, I guess, this veto, but I think maybe you convinced me, Katie. I do see her like maybe being a little bit more active in the game, but in terms of being able to win the game, maybe it's not as high as I would have liked. Because I do think that, again, getting rid of Indy and Jasmine in these spots really limited her chances or her options in how to get to the end or how to win in the end.
As of right now, does she beat anyone else that's sitting in the game?
I think she probably beats Turner.
You think? I don't even think she beats Turner.
I don't know. I think it depends. I just don't think Turner is.
I think they're probably like back and forth.
That's a toss up, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, otherwise...
I think she could beat Kyle, because I think Kyle's going to make a lot of enemies. And I think already Indy is blaming Kyle for everything and has no respect for Kyle.
What about Alyssa?
I think she could probably beat Alyssa too, because Alyssa's been doing shit. So yeah, I actually kind of forgot about Alyssa too.
I just assumed she's maxed out too, so...
Yeah. Yeah, I think she has a chance against Alyssa.
Could be a new route for her, is if she can really pull Alyssa in and bring her... That'd be a really weird, tough route for it to be them 2 in the final 2, though.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I will move her up. So
I'm fine with her high C if you guys think B is too high. Whatever you got.
Let's do that. Let's do that for now.
Good for you, Brittany.
But one more, she'll move up again. We already did Kyle. Lastly is the F tiers. I mean, Alyssa, Jasmine, do they need their own individual segments? I mean, let's be real. Like what are we looking at?
Jasmine's going home, so I don't think there's anything really to say about Jasmine.
I don't even need to say about her, but Alyssa
is so interesting to me because Kyle, and like I get that they're out in the open and she can't really like have a reaction, but she had no reaction to Kyle being like, hey, I've basically been lying to you for this whole game, and now I'm ready to not lie anymore and tell you about this alliance, so whatever, we're gonna go forward together. And it's like, I don't know, I feel like if it were me, I'd be like, what the fuck, like we
gotta see the confessionals.
Yeah, I don't know how much stock I put into that, because I mean, this is like her
Zero.
We're watching her in real time with her emotions, and it's like she almost had none, and she's like, okay, cool. But it's like, you're letting this guy have sex with you on a pool floaty and embarrass you in front of literally all of America, Canada, and any other country that watches. I mean, TMZ is literally posting articles that are like, Big Brother contestants having sex on a pool floaty, and it's like, ooh, that's rough. And then they show you saying in your voting shout outs, Mom and Dad, I hope I'm making you proud. It's like, ma'am, you're saying this as there's a literal article on the front page of TMZ talking about how you fucked on a pool floaty. Like, that's embarrassing as fuck. And then you're like sticking with this guy who's been lying to you this whole time, and then like only is coming to you because he doesn't trust a couple of black people in the house, and that's the only reason. It's like, you look like a fucking fool. You look like a fool, and it's just not going to work out well for you. I think she's an F. She has no equity. She's not playing the game. She's only like tagging along with Kyle. She's not doing anything on her own. Keep her an F. She sucks.
Well, damn. All right, how about you, Tito?
I have nothing else to say. I agree. It really is sad because there's you want everyone to be an active game player, and when you don't see it, it's frustrating to like see like there could be more dynamic gameplay going on in the house with an extra person playing the game, and because she's not, it's just very stagnant with her. Like I don't see anything
Yeah, it's
positive for
unfortunate.
her
I mean,
moving forward,
we,
except for probably some like brand deals she'll get after the house. But
like we've
Yeah.
even seen like a showman like Jackson and Holly. I can't believe this is the second time we're referencing them, but
stop.
Because this is
we,
Bizarro Big Brother
yeah,
21. I mean, it really is the Bizarro
yeah,
season of Big Brother 21. It's like the mirror version of it almost. And
yeah.
Kyle is Mickey and she's Holly.
But Holly was actually a comp beast.
Well,
Holly
yeah,
was
I
a much
think
better player, and she was
yeah,
more strategic for sure
yeah,
than
she was actually
Alyssa.
playing. I think
She was
is
playing,
the
yeah.
thing.
yeah.
But Holly also let Mickey fuck her in the room. So.
Well, there you go.
Same idea.
Like all the time.
He
Yeah.
was a manipulator, though. Like, oh, I cannot wait to break. We're
Honestly,
breaking
like
that
makes
up
me
season one
nauseous
day.
to think about.
That was such a bad scenario. But anyway,
We gotta cut
we're
this out.
for those who didn't see my tweets, I'm planning on doing like a breakdown of every Big Brother season. That's gonna be something.
I'd love to be there for the Big Brother 21 one.
God, something like
I'll gladly bow out of that one.
but all right. So I mean, like I said, that's our inner list of those two. The fact that we can do those together, it should be like proof enough they're out. Terrence though.
Wait, hang on. Before we move on, do we think Jasmine will walk out of the house with the cane?
He's gonna rip that boot off, throw it off, and then stomp out. Like, been faking you bitches the whole time.
So I mean, Terrence has kind of have like an underdog turnaround a little bit. I mean, we have to see how people treat him once he's not the HOH, of course. But he's currently in HOH.
And a veto winner.
Has 2 wins under his belt right now. I mean, we don't know what the competition was that he just won his veto with, but I mean,
we know what it was yesterday, so I don't know if it's the same. But yesterday it was what's it called? I don't remember the name of it, but it's the one where like you have to count the stuff and then you have to say it and then you like fold, stay or fold. I think it's called.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Terrence, I don't know. So he's having a good week. Good for him. Like, you got 2 comp. He's going to demand some respect after this week comp wise. I don't think, and I remember you compared him to Cliff Hogg. I don't think that's a fair comparison because despite Cliff making some horrendous decisions late game, I think when he came back in, he definitely had a good social game, or at least a solid one, and he was able to at least think somewhat strategically, where it feels like Terrence kind of moves based off of emotion and based off of what people tell him to do. So I don't think it's a fair comparison to do that. Yes, he won 2 competitions. Beautiful. Yes, Joseph might be leaving on his HOH. That's beautiful. But how much of it is off his own volition? I think it's just a reaction that, hey, I'm not including this alliance. I'm just now finding out from Kyle. Well, F you, Joseph. You need to go home. You know what I'm saying? Like, what was Terrence planning on really doing before this information got to him? Not
Chilling.
this. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like I'm curious to see what Terrence's move is once he's not HOH. He's gonna have Taylor possibly, if she wins HOH, nominating him. If Turner wins HOH, he's nominating him. Heck, I don't think Monty would do it, but I mean, if Brittany or Michael need just like a random person to throw up, Terrence is the next best thing. So just like, I don't know how much respect he's going to be garnering from this, but like, I mean, this week is good enough to make him either top of F or at least low D. I mean, you won something, 2 things at that. So, I respect that, but in my opinion, this is like if Gen City from like Big Brother 14 won like 2 competitions. Like, what? So what? Okay, like Dan tells her what to do, and then she goes right back to being irrelevant. So like, I'm not too hype on Terrence's wins and stuff, but like, he did it. Good job. Tito, how you feel about Terrence?
I did not expect a Gen City reference in
I mean,
2022.
I'm just saying, man. Like, it's the same thing.
Well, that was a time in history. Yeah, I think that the wins are great and give him a little bit more credibility moving forward, and maybe in the end game if he's there, like who knows what happens at that point. But I think you're right. I think that taking out seemingly the better connected person in the house in Joseph really will hurt him in terms of relationships. I think that taking out Kyle would have been really good for him. I think the house would have been like really pleased with that, coming back into it. But it also would have just kept him on the bottom. Like, who knows? Like, maybe taking out Joseph, maybe he does loop in with Kyle and Alyssa, and they become something, and that could get him a little bit more respect in that way. But I think that ultimately it's the work of somebody else. You know, he's not doing something optimal for him. He's doing something optimal for others. Um, but I don't know. So I would probably leave him an F because I still don't think he has the winnability or um, like credibility with anybody else, social ability to win the game. But I do see him there. I don't know. I see him sitting in that little chair in the final three while the other two compete for the final three HOH or the final HOH because he's not winning the comps. But who knows? Maybe he does win. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll win the game, but I can see him being a little bit more of a active player than he has been. So
Yeah, but I'm also afraid that this HOH is going to have the same implications that Daniel's HOH had, where it's like, hey, you have an opportunity to turn your whole game around, but you try to people please, and then like, what happens at when you're not HOH? Everyone just turns on you, you know. So like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he's gonna do. He's definitely. I agree with you, Tito. He's definitely in that Derek F spot where it's like you're almost guaranteed to make like Final
not a
Four at
Derek
this point.
not being
And there's no
Well,
compared
he
to
shade to
won.
DM.
Hog, Derek
DF didn't
F,
win
and Jen
anything.
Steady in the last 2 minutes.
Let me stop. Let me stop. Katie, go. How about you, Katie?
Well, the reason I feel like he gives a little bit of Cliff Hog to me is because I felt like Cliff Hog was playing a game for Jackson to win. And I feel like right now, Terrence is playing a game for Kyle to win. And I think, there's a potential for him to just be told something else and then change his mind. But what I would like to see from Terrence, because people are telling him two different things, and he's just blindly trusting that this is real, what Kyle is telling him, when he's had a relationship with Turner, he's been closer with Joseph. Like, yeah, Turner and Joseph are lying to him, but how does Terrence know which one is lying? Put one up from each side and then make the decision, use the week to get more information and then be able to make a decision on your own because you're the tiebreaker. So at the end of the day, like, you hold the power here. You should be either blowing it up and just saying like, hey, whatever the fuck is the truth, I don't really know, but I'm putting one up of each side of you, and then I'm going to use this week to figure it out, so you better tell me the truth about whatever, and then let them put. He's just taking the information
really
that Kyle
interesting.
gave to him and then is just saying, okay, this is the truth, and now I'm good with you, even though Turner's kind of had his back the whole season. It doesn't really make sense, and it's kind of like, you guys remember when Cliff didn't flush Christy's power and she had the diamond power? I mean, like, come on. Like, what are we doing? Why are we letting these people just tell you what to do and you're doing it? And that's kind of that's the comparison I see between the two of them, is that you're playing the game to further other people just so you can get an extra week and then an extra week and then an extra week. And you're making deals that don't make sense. And you're playing the game in a way that's not going to get you the win. And that's where I see the comparison to Cliff. Like, Cliff was actively playing, but he was playing a terrible game. Terrence is not as active, but every move he makes he's not doing anything for himself. He's just listening to what other people are telling him, and it's not doing anything to further himself and move himself forward.
Hot take. I actually agree with Cliff's decision not to make Chrissy play that power, but it's a controversial one. But no, I agree with everything that you're saying. My last question about Terrence: how many alliances is he going to be leaving this HOH with?
None. He thinks he's going to be good with Kyle, Alyssa. He thinks Michael and Brittany are going to be with him on the inside, but they're not. The only reason I think this might be okay for Terrence is because, well, I don't know, 2 comps now, that's a threat. Because before, if he didn't win this veto, like, they would be like, oh, it's a fluke HOH. It was just like a spot the VIP thing, and anybody could win it. Now it's 2, and it's like, I don't know. Terrence won 2 comps in a row. Like, we don't have any control over him. We may as well get him out. Before him winning this veto, I would think like no one's going to target Terrence because they have bigger fish to fry, especially with Kyle turning on the alliance. But maybe it is worth getting Terrence out.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I actually think Terrence taking Joseph out is the correct move here for Terrence. But it's not off his own like mindset. Like you can say like they're cool and all because they definitely were. But at the end of the day, he's not in Joseph's end game plans. Joseph and Monty both plan on throwing his ass up and getting him out if they ever got nominated together. It's like, if you're not in someone's end game plans, what's the point of keeping him here? So it's like, I think it's the correct read, But the reason why I'm going to continue to put Terrence low is that, like, yeah, you're taking a shot, but what are you doing to make sure that you're going to be in a good position after your HOH is over? You know, that's the issue I have with him. In terms of ranking, I mean, are we? So I mean, I don't think he's bottom F, but is he top
Yeah,
F
because
or
he's
is he
not going
D?
anywhere.
Yeah, I think that's a good spot. I think
Yeah.
with Jasmine going out and Alyssa doing just absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And
If he
give
made at least
DJ
one alliance, I would have
give
put him up.
DJ his respect on being in the top of F.
DJ Terrence.
He's like not
DJ
even using
Showtime? Is
this
that what it is?
week. DJ Showtime, yeah. He's not even using this week to get information. And that's the thing. It's like he got some, but like, okay, you're only getting information from Kyle. So use the information you got from Kyle to get more information from other people so you can bring it in the house. And then when you're back with everybody, use it to make a decision. And he's not even doing that. It's like,
And that's also
what's the
very like
point?
that's also very like boss. Like to do that is to be like, I know the position I'm in and I'm gonna make you guys tell me what I need or what you
Right.
know, because otherwise you're going home kind of a thing. Like it's very like I'm taking the power back when he has none. So I think you're right, Katie. That's like probably the best way to flip the script. And it also would probably give him a little bit more respect, being like, I flipped it in a way where like you had to give me information, otherwise I would have, you know what I mean? Like that's
Right.
really interesting perspective to come from. It's almost the inverse of I think Taylor's HOH last week, where she was very wishy-washy on where the target was, and that
Yeah.
didn't sit well with her. He's like kind of very firm that it needs to be Joseph seemingly, and that's again not giving him any information either. So
Right.
I don't know.
And regardless, you're leaving a pair together. You're leaving a showmance in the house, and you're coming in. The pitch from Kyle to Terrence is me and you and Alyssa and Michael and Brittany. You know what that is? 2 fucking pairs. Who's gonna keep you over? Is Michael keeping you over Brittany? No, Terrence. She's not. He's not. Is Brittany keeping you over Michael? No. Like, there's no way for you to infiltrate either one of those pairs. So at least like maybe try and break one up, or just then use the information and go to Joseph, because you have a better chance, I think, with Joseph and Turner and saying, listen, I know that this is happening. I don't really care. Like, they're going to shoot at each other. Let's stick together. And then, like, you know, we can do something, whatever. Like, it's going to fall apart, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, there's no thought. It's just like, okay, now Kyle told me this, so I'm going to do what Kyle told me. And whether or not it's going to be good for him at the end, it's not. I mean, there's no way for him to break into either one of those pairs, whether Michael and Brittany, they're not a showmance, but they're like besties. So there's no chance.
All right. Well, that's it. That's our rankings for the week. This is probably the most interesting ranking. We got a whole lot of movement here.
Yeah.
So very curious to see where we go next week and if Josie rips this whole thing to shreds.
The one thing I want to ask you guys is, what do you think about this twist in general? Obviously, they kind of ruined it by allowing the house guests to choose their own pairs and then also have a conversation about who they were going to choose, which is weird. But what do you guys think about the twist in general? Also, I was wrong last week. I thought it was all going to take place in one night and be the double eviction. I did not know people were going to be living outside for a week, so I was wrong.
That's what I was getting. I felt
confusing.
that, but it's just like you know, I mean, I like the attempt. I don't think it's the worst thing that they've done, because like we've seen much worse in previous seasons, like the BB Roadkill, the Den of Temptation, and all that other crap. Like I've seen worse. Kim comeback, but it's just like this one had opportunity to be interesting, but one, you kind of ruined it when you let people draft uh their respected houses. That's the first issue. The second issue, it's like this is kind of way too long for a twist. Like you guys should knock this out in one night, and now this double elimination isn't really like that entertaining or fun, because like you already know who's going. Like
Yeah, it was
this is
decided
one.
like yesterday.
Yeah, like if this was in the same night where like Kyle gets to pull freaking Terrence aside and be like, yo, guess what? This is the leftovers. Da 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 da. Terrence wins 2 freaking competitions and no one expects it. And then Joseph goes that night. My God, that would have been amazing television. Now I'm just like, okay, like, you know, we didn't rip the band-aid off. I'm sad to see Joseph leave, but like it's whatever, you know, like I don't care. um God, that would have been one of the best double evictions ever if we saw Terrence win back-to-back competitions, Joseph blow up the leftovers, and then Joseph gets blindsided. My God, that would have been amazing. But you know, here we are. So missed opportunity, right idea, bad execution. Would I try this again? Give it in a couple years. Don't do back to back, but like maybe in a couple years and do it right in the same night. But hey, there you go. I don't know. How about you,
Yeah,
Tito?
I was confused. I think by the explanation of it, obviously, because I said something incorrect last week when saying I thought it was going to play out in one night. But when they said it was a 2-hour episode, like obviously my assumption was we were going to have two HOHs and two veto competitions in one night, and half of it would be outside and half of it would be inside, and then we would go back to normal the next day and play out the rest of the game. It's weird. The 2-hour episode was a complete waste of time. I mean, that was the worst, maybe the worst Big Brother episode ever. And then we didn't even get to see the pick at the end. It was just the whole thing is a mess. The execution.
It can't
was
be
really
worse
poor.
than the Big Brother All Stars, where we had a whole segment of them looking at cartoons of themselves fighting on TV. That
Yeah,
was
that's
horrible.
true.
I think I
That's true. That's
removed
true.
that from my memory. I don't remember that.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
But like, yeah, I don't know why. I guess Big Brother's in the stage where they're trying to like shake things up. Where we saw the triple elimination last year didn't really go the way like they wanted, and then now they're like it feels like there are changes in the format attempts has been the double, triple, whatever evictions where it's like it was fine the way it was. Just keep it the same. That
Yeah.
was exciting. The worst part was that we just unfortunately got it on boring weeks and like a boring person would leave. But like, nah, just keep it the same. Sometimes you strike gold. I'm never going to forget Andy Herron's freaking blindsiding McCray to get Alyssa out. I'm not going to forget freaking like Dan Giesling and almost taking out like Ian and all this stuff or Shane or like there's been some great moments. It's just like it just didn't strike at the right time. Vanessa,
Yeah.
like come on, Vanessa taking freaking Austin out with no shoes was freaking hilarious. Like come on now, So it's like it was fine. Just like leave it the way it was. But like I respect that they're trying to change it. Like it's not detrimental to like the format where I'm like how they did the Battle of the Block and all that stuff. Like it's not detrimental, but it's not working out the way it's trying to stick. But I'm not angry about it. Like I've been angrier at a lot of other things Big Brother has done, but this is not one of them. So
Yeah.
You tried. It was a good idea. It was. I'm not angry at it. It was not a bad idea, but it just didn't work out. Yeah.
I think I'm a little bit higher on it than both of you. What I'm more upset about is that I think we're gonna miss out on like a true double eviction.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get one later in the season, but we're gonna miss out on at least one, which is unfortunate. I would have loved to have seen like maybe this twist, like you said, happen in one night where we get one eviction, one person goes out or something like that. But yeah, I think ultimately I do like the idea of like quickening the game in that way. And you thought you were playing with so many people, now you're playing with 5. How are you going to manage that? So I like that piece of it, but I think overall you're right. I'm more upset about losing one like really exciting double.
Yeah.
I'm also the most upset that Jasmine's not living outside. Like, how does she keep getting away with this? She doesn't. She hasn't. Was she a have? Oh no, she was a have not. But yeah, I wanted to see her live outside. But they didn't give these poor people
Not
outside
the week
any
after
shade.
her birthday, Katie.
I know it's the week after my birthday, so you can't put me on the block. I'm still injured. But they don't have like any shade outside. They're so hot. They have like barely. The food is like it's just a rough situation for them outside.
Has it
I
rained?
feel bad.
Has it rained at all?
It hasn't rained, but they'd probably be okay with it because it's so hot. Maybe it would like break up the heat a little bit. But there's a really good or sad gift, depending on how you think about it, of Turner from this morning, I guess, when the sun was shining on them and they're sleeping. They don't have tents. They're sleeping in like sleeping bags on the ground. It's like really sad for them, honestly. There's like a thing of Turner like putting a table and a pillow above his head to like shield himself from the sun. It's like, God damn, at least give them like a big, one of those big tents at least, if you don't want them to each have their own individual. Like, this is terrible. Yes, this is that was quick work that you did. Like, poor Turner. That's terrible.
Yeah, it's bad, man. So there you go. I mean, here we are. This is what you signed up for. Big Brother's like,
rough.
ooh, big move. There you
Yeah.
go. So I don't know. There you have it. That's bounce checks though. That's our episode for today. It's been a good one. Wow, I've never seen someone completely like agree with everything Katie said before, but here we are, Tito.
Listen, I was also agreeing with what Tito said. Okay, it wasn't one.
Yeah,
Wasn't
yeah,
only
you
one way.
guys have that. You guys have that chemistry
We just
there.
have good opinions. What can you say?
But all right, so we're gonna start closing out and everything. But if you haven't already, like usual, please check out all of our social media pages. We have the Twitter on the screen, silent_podcast. Same with the Twitch and the YouTube and all that stuff. It's Silent Podcast. Any like subscriptions or reviews you want to leave on the audio podcast if you're listening on Apple or Acast, which we're now on, or Spotify and all that stuff. Leave them. Only if it's 5 stars. If it's not, then don't leave them. We don't care about them. Just save it for next time. But yes, thank you for coming, and we can start closing out. Tito, thank you for coming on the podcast. Appreciate you. You did a great job here. What are you getting into, and where can people find you?
I appreciate you having me. Not too much lately. Just watching and following along, tweeting sometimes on Twitter. You can follow me at Pachichis on Twitter for my sporadic takes on reality TV. I'm not on there too often, but when I am, they're good. So check it out.
All right, and then how about you, Katie?
Yeah, you can shoot me a follow on Twitter at RealSlimKatie. You can also follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/RealSlimKatie with an underscore at the end. You can also hear me all over the place on Silent Podcasts these days. Obviously here on Bounce Checks every week with our rotating panel, which has always been a really, really great time, having so much fun covering the season with you guys. You can also hear me on TJ Hates Quitters, which Tito has been a guest on, a wonderful guest with us in the past, talking all things Challenge USA with Carrie. Carrie and I also cover all things in the Real Housewives universe on the Cool Water Show every week, so you can check us out there. And we just started a new podcast called Fire and Pod, covering all things House of the Dragon. So we released a pre-season podcast last week, and I'm covering that with Josh Kettles and Chanel. And it's been super fun so far. I mean, we only have one episode, but it was super fun. And the show premieres tomorrow, so we'll be dropping an episode this week, giving all of the info on the new Game of Thrones show. I mean, it's in the Game of Thrones universe, but it's not A Song of Ice and Fire. It's like 200 years before. So check it out if you're ready to hurt yourself again with the Game of Thrones universe. Hopefully it won't be like the last one. So we'll see. We're cautiously optimistic.
Okay. Oh, and real quick, we have some breaking news. We have 2 Big Brother favorites posting for the Rugrats. Daniel and Paloma meeting up.
Stop.
Oh no!
We were doing
For the
so
haters.
well.
For
We were
the
closing out
haters.
beautifully.
There you go.
Can I ask why this 35-year-old man is obsessed with this 22-year-old girl? Like, is that not weird to anybody else?
It's giving creepy
Like-
behavior.
Oof.
But and lastly, you can find me like usual at 8Ball Bangers. On God knows what, everything here on Silent Podcast. You can find me most recently doing the Survivor Philadelphia retrospective. I'm recording the next one tonight, actually. If you haven't already, checked that out. I was with the cast last night. It was a great keeping up with everybody, and we got a merge episode coming soon, so keep a lookout for that. You can also find me on Rob has a podcast talking about Big Brother like I do over here with like Taryn and Rob and whoever else they usually have me with. I got an aux cord approved coming up soon. That should be fun. Talking about the new Beyonce album. So with a very, 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 very special guest. I'm very excited for that. And then lastly, you can find me at the end of the month, every single month, talking about music on the Purple Pants podcast with Bryce Isaiah, doing the Purple Pants playlist. We're going to talk about our favorite music from this summer next podcast, so that should be a fun one. But until next week, hopefully Friday, I know that everything changed this week, but hopefully Friday, we will see you guys with some more results, and have a good one. Bye.